This week's scenario is two fronts from the Steamroller 2015 tournament pack. It consists of the Killbox scenario. There are two rectangular zones. You can dominate the friendly zone for 1 control point. You can control the enemy zone for 1 control point and dominate the enemy zone for 2 control points. And you can destroy the enemy objective for 1 control point. 5 control points or assassination of the enemy warcaster. Wins.
Alright, Pokey here, and I decided to go back to Makeda in the Exalted Court. The typical, well, a build you guys have seen at least once before on the channel. Figured Taodark was going to be nice enough to let me play the list. He said he had a list he wanted to give a try, so he said go ahead and just pull out the Makeda3 and let's see what we can do with it. So, I'm hoping we're going to have some good time with this today.
Hey everybody, Taodark here, and we are going into our Cyphon Game 2. This list is not in tier. It's one of the ones I'm kind of playing around with. I want to see if the addition of adding Aiyana and Master Holt to Cyphon's already extremely strong feat would allow me for dealing with scenarios of Arcane Shielded Storm Walls or anything to that measure. So this list is not in tier. It only takes 2 units of both Benders and Slavers, 3 Agitators, 3 Monstrosities, and Lady Aiyana and Master Holt. I'm still taking Fuel Cache because the free charge adds more focus to the ability for my Monstrosities to send in, and we'll see how it works out. So in this week's matchup, I have to kind of admit I had asked for this in the form of I wanted to see how a Cephalyx Drudge heavy list would handle against another list that actually is equipped for dealing with lots of infantry. And the first one that comes to mind for me always is Pokey's Makeda3 list that just usually ends up feet-turning Pac-Manning through entire armies. We've seen it before on the channel where he completely decimated Polar Bear Cub's COC infantry heavy list. So I kind of wanted to see how it would pair up. For my deployment, I've got a forest in front of me that I kind of have to deal with, but not necessarily. Because Cyphon has Onslaught, I'll be able to give Pathfinder to anything that's behind the woods, and because they have eyeless sight, I can do the necessary charge requirements of Onslaught to get that Pathfinder, since I can basically see through that woods. The only person who wouldn't be able to do it would be the actual Cephalyx, but he has Pathfinder innately, so I don't necessarily need to charge with him. So I'm deploying relatively central. The only thing that's kind of not central is that I have Lady Aiyana and Master Holt on my left-hand side, and that's in part because I want to make sure that I help their present there to make sure I have dominance and control over my own zone, should any heavies go towards that end of the board.
Alright, after a good 20 plus minutes or so of watching him deploy his millions of models, oh my goodness, so many models over there, I was actually getting envious. I mean, all I had was, just a few models compared to what he was throwing out there. But anyways, in my deployment, I decided to keep most of it central, not for the bulk of the battle group, keeping it central, having both the Savages on the outsides, so they can go and at least ways contest the zones if need be. They're kind of expendable that way, and then Beast Handlers to one to cover each flank. But the bulk of the battle group is in the center. No real infantry to speak of, so it'll be interesting.
Mercenaries, turn 1. So my opponent has done a relatively symmetrical deployment. I can't necessarily get a read on what he's going to be doing in the game. He does have his Bronzeback towards his zone, so I'm definitely going to have to contend with that. For the most part, I think I'm going to trundle up towards the center with my Monstrosities to get them into a position where I get a better read of what he's going to do in the following turn. And then I'm going to rely on my right-hand Slavers and Mindbenders to Adrenal Fundus Slavers, and now use them to deal with the objective, or my opponent's objective. So from a standpoint to the actual gameplay, my current process is that I want to go into a state where I'm flooding my zone, potentially trying to flood him out if I can get away with it, and then just safely dominating in my zone to start the scenario in. I have to be mindful of the fact that his feat is going to kill a lot of infantry, but I'm hoping that I can use, or I'm hoping that the tough rolls will be slightly in my favor, so that it might blunt how far he gets in his infantry chomping. Due to the fact that, you know, he's not going to be able to get as far in if I continually keep toughing. That being said, I want to position my monstrosities in a way where I will be able to counter deal with them, so that if he turns around and sends Molik in and Bronzeback in to start beating on infantry on my following turn, I can send a monstrosity into to kill those pieces and start that peace trade that way. Either that or just using Adrenal Flooded Slavers. Adrenal Flooded Slavers actually do a lot of work as it relates to killing heavies. I am doing something wrong here. I'm actually running my monstrosities through the woods. He's got Siphon's got Onslaught up, and I'm running those two monstrosities through the woods. And then through quick clarification, someone pointed out, hey, you have to charge, not run. So I have to kind of trim them back 2 inches to make sure that I'm meeting the charge. I'm charging, not running, in order to get that Pathfinder. With that in mind, I kind of dirtle up the rest of the unit. I am moving my max. Unfortunately, because this is not tier, it's only speed 10. So I'm not running the 14 I would get from a tier bonus. And this is actually the first time where I realize how powerful that +2 speed on Drudges is that it provides in the tier list. Just, you get so much further up the table than you do when you don't have it. So that's definitely a learning curve for me. And then just kind of advancing the agitators up, getting them into a position where they'll still be able to sack to a monstrosity, but they're in position next turn for instigate bubbles.
Alright, turn 1. My goodness, that is such a daunting amount of infantry just trundling away over towards my side of the table. For the most part, it's going to be very simple. We'll use 4 to cast 2 rushes, and then the final 2 to cast Vortex of Destruction. She's then going to advance. Then the Bronzeback is going to run. Pretty much the entire line is pretty much going to run. Molik, it goes up. He just standard advances, then does Fate Walk on himself. Now, I ended up winning the roll to go first, and figured I'd actually go second, and I could pick the board edge. I figured I'll take the open board edge, not realizing he had the ability to give out Pathfinder. I figured the trees would probably block him in, corral him, make him move around, hopefully slow down some of what he has. Unfortunately, he does have Pathfinder. Is it one of his spells abilities? So he was able to get through the trees pretty easily. So now you had, now back to my side, had the Brute advance, put Safeguard up on Makeda herself, and the Beast Hunters advanced, and they did their whole little thing with trying to do Managing a Fury. And right now, Makeda's sitting with 0 Fury on her. She's, I'm thinking, pretty far back in the line. She's pretty safe. You know, got Molik there, got the Bronzeback there. You know, shooting, she has the Brute there. Everything should be, you know, fairly safe. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, that's, you know, look at that. Well over 12 inches away from me. You know, I should be more than safe. So, decided to move Molik Kharn over to the side, and end my turn.
Mercenaries turn 2. So my opponent's advanced up, and he's kind of got himself into a position where I'm expecting him to feat next turn. So I need to, in turn, prepare for that and put myself as far up as I can, or at least get that line of engagement as far up as I can. I'm going to try and lock down one of his heavies, preferably Molik Kharn, and then just basically put some infantry out in front, and then space him in a way where he's going to be able to beat back or sidestep or whatever it is, but not necessarily just run 4 dudes in a line where he can just kill 4 dudes and not have to worry about, you know, moving too terribly much. So I'm going to try and do my best to make sure that I put in spaces. Now, Molik Kharn's kind of in a weird situation where with his sidestep and beatback and his 2-inch reach off of his weapons, I mean, he can go downtown. So, and that's partially the reason why I want to put Breath Stealer on him. Blunt his distance so he can't charge, and then potentially affect the way that he can move around based upon that. I just want to keep him kind of back, put him into a situation where he'll be able to get into my lines, but not necessarily far enough, and then in turn, next turn, counter with a monstrosity, one of the wreckers. So I'm advancing up the slavers, again, putting some space here and there in between them, getting them where they're still in range of command, but they aren't necessarily clustered up into a line. And then I'll put my benders in return. I'm using the slavers as a screen because even though slavers are great for adrenal flood targets, I've actually found that benders are just as good when it comes to adrenal flooding and punching down a heavy underneath instigate. They're basically 1 point shy. The only advantage that slavers provide is the fact that they can do combined melee, and you can use an adrenal flooded drudge as the point of the combined melee. So Lady Aiyana and Master Holt advance up, and they just stealth. Holt's not necessarily in range of shooting anything. I'm just getting them in for preparation for whatever heavy or Molik Kharn it is that goes in the zone. So here I've advanced up Cyphon, and I'm going to put Crippling Grasp. I'm sorry, not Crippling Grasp. Breath Stealer up on Molik Kharn and to blunt that distance. Now the thing is that I have to be within 15 of him, so I advance him up and then I kind of moved him back an inch because I want to be as close to the kill boxes as I possibly can be without but still in distance to put Breath Stealer on Molik Kharn. So I advance him up, and I think at this point I'm about 15 inches, so I'm like an inch past the actual kill box, so I technically could pull back an inch to maybe an inch and a quarter and still just have the tip of Siphon's base in front, but then I wouldn't have the distance for Breath Stealer. So one of the things that I do is I have one monstrosity up, and I'm going to bring the other two up and kind of form this monstrosity wall in front of Cyphon to make sure. Unfortunately here I make a big mistake, and that is you always, one of the rules that I always try and abide by is don't move near a Bronzeback unless you've engaged the Bronzeback. And I did just that. I moved near a Bronzeback but didn't engage him, so he gets a counter charge because I got too close, which is now basically giving him a free movement. He's that much closer to my army. And that's a problem. So I run the rest of the Drudges up to engage, but I'm just I need to make sure that I clog up that area enough that Bronzeback, who is now that much closer, doesn't get in range, because he's probably going to not even worry about killing infantry next turn. He's probably going to go after that monstrosity that's right in front of him, since there's just a short distance to get. So I advance up the rest of the infantry, getting them into the zone, again preparing them to be able to counter-strike either Adrenal Flood on the objective or Adrenal Flood on whatever heavy is in that zone. Maybe put some control where I can get a control point out of that in the following turn. And then we'll just continue over and dominate on his zone. So moving the monstrosities and just basically getting ready to soak up the feet and then counter feed back.
Alright, not sure if you guys realize, but his caster's feat, Taodark's caster's feat, gives his monstrosities +3 speed, plus the ability to, I think, charge for free or do some other wonky, weird stuff. And that is why I was really stressing about that turn, because I had Makeda sitting out there with no fury, out in the open, free for the charge. As you can see from the table, when I was pointing from the Gladiator to the Bronzeback got to the Gladiator, the Bronzeback has the ability of leadership, which says any Titans that are in his command range automatically pass their threshold checks. So I felt it was pretty safe to leave that one fury on the Gladiator. So I ended up keeping Vortex of Destruction, because that is a phenomenal spell. For those that don't know, it pretty much means that anybody in melee with her gets boosted damage rolls on targets that she's in melee with. And yes, she does have reach. Makes it a lot easier for that to work for a lot of other models that are going to be coming in. Unfortunately, Molik Kharn is kind of out of the way on this one. You put that spell up that reduces his speed and means no charging, no happy joy for him. So I activate Makeda. She pops her feet, charges the monstrosity. The one Exalted Court charges one of the little guys, and the other one charges another guy that's blocking in the Bronzeback. So I start with the guys that are close there, rolling out, and damn that tough. And he's still tough. But hey, he's knocked down, so now I go to the other guy, and he's not tough. Hooray! My battle grip killed somebody, so I get a fury back. Hooray for my feet. And so with that, now I go to Makeda. And she is going to see what she can do to this monstrosity, hoping that I can take it out. Because if I can't, then next turn's going to be really bad for me. And not something I'm really wanting to have happen, because one of those monstrosities in the face is going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And let alone the 3 that are sitting there. So I pretty much spin myself down, knowing that if I can kill him, I get a fury back, and I get to cast one of my 3 or less fury spells. So I decide for Eliminator. I'm trying to figure out what my target for this. Make sure nobody has stealth or anything else. And so I target one of the leader guys. I boost it to hit, because the spell's for free. I mean, might as well spend 1 to boost. Making sure the guy's in range. I end up missing. Even though I boosted, I missed. And so now we're measuring it out to see how far over I go. And I ended up clipping, I think, 3 of those guys, plus his caster. So here's hoping that I get some. I get some good dice rolls, and he doesn't get very many tough checks. And for those that don't know what Eliminator is, Eliminator says for every model that I kill, my model gets to advance 2 inches. That's what a little die is out there to mark off the number of wounds that are taken. Unfortunately for my spell, I only get 1 fury, regardless of the number of models that died from the one attack. I only get 1 fury for it, or else I could have gotten 2. Otherwise I could have got 2. Now the question is, do I go up or do I go back? And I figured I'm all in on this. I'm going forward. I'm spending again. I'm trying to kill off those little drudge guys, or what those old guys are. But he toughs. Why the tough? Oh my goodness, hate tough. Oh no, I don't hate tough. I just kind of wish tough would work differently. So now the Gladiator activates, comes forward. He puts Rush up on the Bronzeback, because the Bronzeback has some work to do today. Checking my control area again. Activating the Willbreaker. I'm sorry. The Beast Handlers first. I almost did this backwards in the game too. Activate the Beast Handlers first. Enraged the Bronzeback. Conditioned the Gladiator. And enraged the Brute. And then one of them ended up whipping on the the Drudges or whatever. But because the Savage was outside of my control area, I had to bring the Willbreaker up because he works. Beast can still be forced while in its control area, or command area, and he ended up giving the Bronzeback Postmaster. So now that the Savage activates, he charges in because he has to charge, and now he is now within Makeda's feet. So charging for free because of Enrage, and first swing, bought a second swing, removed the Fury to add the Fury to buy another guy, removed one, add one to buy one. It's just, oh, living the dream, you know. And it is the turn, so might as well do it big. So spent everything, and to try to save myself, because the way the feat is worded, I can either add or remove a point of fury from her or somebody in her battle group. So for that last model that was killed, I went ahead and added a point of fury to her. Now it's Molik Kharn's turn to activate. He advances 4. He swings on the first one. Thank goodness he's a good mat and a weapon master. Ends up killing the guy, and now he gets his sidestep. So he steps forward, he swings on that guy right there, and that guy isn't tough. And then I add 1 for the one guy and take 1 from the Savage. It's kind of a weird, let's juggle some stuff around. Now he's going to buy an attack on the little leader guy. Little leader guy dies, but I don't get any more advances. But I do get to remove a point of fury for killing the guy. Now I put one back on, and I think I swing on one of the Drudges, kill him. I take it away, I put it back, and then I think I just spend the rest of his activation just swinging on the objective, just so I can. Oh, and he's on fire because it's whatever his objective was. Catway on fire. I think it's fuel cache. So I end up spending 3 or 4 to kill off his objective. And then he puts up 2 for Fate Walker. And now I'm trying to figure out where that other Savage can go. Activate the blue Beast Handlers. They advance up. This next turn I'm probably going to be hurting for Fury. Probably going to be a lot of Fury management issues, but the first 2 end up swinging on that one Drudge. End up killing him. No tough for him. I thought I got a point of fury for that, but I don't, because it's only from the models in the battle group. So you'll see me put it back here in a second, right there. The other 2 models in the unit, they end up enraging the Brute and the other Savage. So the Brute charges the final Drudge. I'm gonna call them Drudges. They may be something else. I'm gonna keep on calling them Drudges. Ends up charging him, and I end up buying attacks, and then I kill him off with a second attack and remove a point from Molik Kharn. Now the other Savage is going to get ready to activate, because I just want to try to reduce his. Oh no, I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. Tried to go with the Extollar to see if the Extollar could try to do some damage, but not even able to get in the zone. You know, not in the zone, not in range to shoot anybody, just there. So the Savage activates, charges in, because, well, that's what it does, and it just starts to swing. Now, typically the idea behind this is that each of these models have beatback on them, have train wreck, the Bronzeback's Animus, to allow them to Pac-Man through the infantry. But I kind of got ahead of myself and wasn't able to do that. So now pretty much a lot of them are just sitting where they're sitting, and that's it. They're just kind of, they did what they could do. Now we go to the big Bronzeback. With Rush, he is now going to be movement 6, so that'll be a total of 9 inches. Once he gets there, he spends 1 to put his Animus a Trainwreck up. He then buys his first attack. For anybody that hasn't faced up against a Bronzeback, Trainwreck is a beatback move. So he's going to take his first fist and I almost made a mistake there and moved it 2. So I fixed that, and we had some guys there telling me, oh, you know, you could actually don't have to follow it the same direction. For what I wanted to do, I did. Now, one thing you're not seeing on the dice rolls is right now the Bronzeback is getting boosted damage rolls, and that's because the Monstrosity is in melee with Makeda, who has Vortex of Destruction up. So, second fist, I hit again and do some more damage. Now I go for the Bronzeback's chain attack, which I'm going to do as a headbutt. I end up hitting, I knock him down, I do quite a bit of damage to him. Well, actually, I guess I kill him. And then I do the beat back that direction, and once again, if you play Skorne, it's often butt first, you know, because those big tusks and everything else. For the Titans anyways. So I buy an attack on his cast. Oh no, I don't buy an attack on his caster. I end up using my tusks on his caster, but I miss. Then I buy a fist, and I think his caster's like armor 20 or something like that. But I get a good hit in. Unfortunately, he is not within Vortex of Destruction. So I end up buying another attack. And have to buy another attack, and I was able to Puppet Master my way to victory because I had to re-roll using the Puppet Master because the initial roll didn't kill him off all the way. Have a good one.
So for my afterthoughts, this week was obviously a short week. I mean, sometimes this happens in the game. Sometimes your game ends on the bottom of 2, top of 3. It's just a scenario. I've seen this list in action. I almost kicking myself because I should have known with the beatback and all that Bronzeback would be able to get into my monstrosities. But what I actually wasn't prepared for is Makeda just bulleting forward and providing that Vortex of Destruction for the Bronzeback, so that the Bronzeback is allowed to do so much more, because with the Vortex you're boosting and you don't have to spend for it. So it's definitely one of the scenarios where I think the pivotal turning point of this, or the mistake that cost me the game, was advancing towards that Bronzeback and not engaging him and giving him that extra distance. If he was further back, he may not necessarily have been able to pull off killing into that far to get to my caster, and I might have had a monstrosity or 2 left to counter onto whatever heavies are, and I'm not sure he necessarily would have devoted Makeda if he didn't think that he had an ability to get to my caster. So well played on my opponent. I'm continuing to learn Cephalyx and some of their limitations every game I go. So I appreciate you guys watching, and see you next week. Thank you.